People are not going to feel heard until they hear their ideas coming out of your mouth. So telling people you understand does not work. It doesn't work. I try never to do it. I don't tell people I get it. They're not going to feel heard until they hear their ideas coming out of my mouth. When I summarize for them what I think they're telling me and give them an opportunity to correct or validate what I've said, then they feel heard. It's not enough to be heard. People have to feel heard.
Jason Silvernail on the show. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Jimmy. It's great to be here.
You're no stranger to shooting videos. You've sort of embraced you've embraced it. It's a medium, and you've embraced what looks like your process is you have an idea or you run into a situation. That's what I'm guessing happens, because then I see your video where you're talking about a very specific situation. Yours are around something I love. We share a love for sort of communication. How it's done, how could it begin? It can be done better. So talk about, like, why did you start turning a camera around, a phone to yourself, recording guidance, insights into sort of this thing, this world, this thing that we do is in communication?
Yeah, well, I really appreciate that question, because I feel like I have spent so much time in my career learning so many lessons the hard way. Like mistakes, problems, conflicts, they are expensive, and they're painful personally and interprofessionally too. And I thought, it really would have been great if somebody could have pulled me aside earlier in my career and said, there's actually a better way to do these things. Mm-hmm. And I think one of our problems in this space is that we like to talk about these big ideas a lot, but we don't do a good job of teaching people skills. And so my presence focuses teaching people skills. I want to make sure that people, when something comes up, they have a strategy to use and they know why. Mm-hmm.
And it looks like you're doing it one skill at a time, where some people might be like, I'm going to get together and do a 60-minute blah, blah, blah. Yours is 45 seconds. Here's the thing that came up. Here's how it could have gone. And here's what maybe you can do in that situation.
Bite size. I find that often when I experience something, it sort of triggers a memory of something I went through in the past. I was like, something just happened. Here's something that happened to me years ago. This person said this, or I was in a situation where this guy said that, and here's something that I did that really helped me, and maybe you might like it too.
Well, that happens, right? Like, how many times do you touch a hot stove? Well, once if you really burn yourself, and then you walk into that and you're like, hang on a second, I've felt this before. Right. What did I do last time, and what maybe is a better strategy?
I'm trying to save people burned hands.
Yeah.
Because God knows I got plenty myself.
We gave the example, and half the audience might be too young to understand this. Back in the day, we actually used these things called CDs, right?
Yes.
And there were 3 CD players in the studio, and one was obviously always playing, and then you had the next 2 ready to go. Yep. And someone gave me advice, like, one time in your career, you will pop out the CD of the thing that's playing, and you will panic, because now you are dead air, which is a sin in broadcast.
Okay.
And I was like, of course I'll never do that, because I'm very, very conscious, and I will pay attention all the time. And then you do it, and you get that overwhelming feeling of panic. And then every other time you go to pop out a CD, you have that, hang on, make sure, good, check, got it.
Yep.
And it's interesting because you can apply that sort of burned hand on the stove or popping out the wrong CD in those situations. But communication problems come up in real time with people, and they're never clean. They're usually messy.
Always.
So, talk about some of the big lessons that you've shared via your videos that resonated well with you, and also like some people who've watched it.
Yeah, thank you. I think my biggest start point was a frustration with talking about these big picture ideas that didn't translate to specific skills. And I just went through a couple of really tough professional situations. I'm not perfect. I've had bad bosses too. And I've maybe not been at my best either in some of these interactions. And as a result, it just prompted me to think, man, if I could help people with some of this stuff, that's what I'd really like to do. My experience has been, even people who are really good at communicating with patients, they struggle to translate that ability to colleagues,
to teach them how to do it,
to friends, to students, and even to their family and friends in their personal life.
Yeah.
And so I think a big part of what I'm trying to do is help connect our people with the skills they already have in communication and interaction, and show them how to translate it outside a purely clinical model in a way that will help them and help other people.
Yeah. All right. So we're here at AOMT.
We are.
American Academy of Orthopedic Manual Physical
Yes,
Therapy.
yes.
And your presentation is on communication.
Yes.
How'd you slip that one by them?
Well,
why is it here?
Well, it's here because of these 3 words: leaders transforming healthcare. So I learned a long time ago that a big part of this job is learning to influence human behavior.
Yeah.
Not just our patients, but ours as well. That ability to be able to be influential requires communication skills. And I just thought to myself, I'm so excited to teach this because I think this is the kind of material that we need in our academy. Like, we have clinical sessions here, and they're fantastic. We have academic and teaching sessions here. They're amazing. But we bill ourselves as leaders transforming healthcare. Where's the leadership and communication training in the curriculum here?
Or how about the curriculum in PT school? It wasn't even there.
It's absent, I think.
Yeah.
And part of it is just there's only so much that the academic, they're under tons of pressure.
Sure. Yep.
And so I wouldn't throwing stones at them, and I know you're not either, but we're just talking about some of the existing gaps that need to be filled.
Sure.
And I'm doing the best I can to fill that in with practical strategies, not big picture theories and ideas.
You've led teams both in combat zones and health
Yeah.
systems.
Yeah.
How do you define leadership presence? And what does it look like in a clinic versus on a battlefield?
Yeah, no, I think people would be surprised how similar they are. Actually, tomorrow is my 34-year Army anniversary.
Thanks for your service. Congrats.
It's really crazy for me to say it because
Wow.
it just seems like so long. But so the Army defines presence as your words and actions and the way that you carry yourself, right? And that conveys to people who you are and what you stand for. And therefore, it reflects your character. So your appearance, your nonverbal behaviors, the manner in which you speak, all of this is part of your presence. When people interact with you, they're subconsciously scanning for 2 things: warmth and competence. Are you someone who can be approached and can help them? And are you someone who can be trusted with responsibility? And your presence conveys both those things.
And it walks in the room before you do.
Of course.
Right? I mean,
Of course.
it comes across before you open your mouth.
Yes. I think that most of it, in fact, is nonverbal.
Well, they say 7, what is the stat? 70,
That's what they say, and I
70% is
think
nonverbal.
that is perfectly applicable to the presence discussion also.
Yeah, and it's simple to define, but not necessarily easy to change, right? And if you're not even aware of it,
Right.
you can't possibly change it.
And those are skills. I
So you can
firmly
teach them,
believe
right.
these are skills
Yes,
that can be
learned.
taught. It is not something that just sort of magically happens. We
Agreed.
wouldn't do this in any other environment. We wouldn't expect people to magically pick up clinical skills. We wouldn't expect that people would somehow learn how to be a good instructor on their own.
Yep.
We understand that there's skills there. I think communication's the same way.
Well, we sort of look at someone and says, well, can they speak English? Can they put together a coherent sentence? Well, then communication, check.
Check, done.
But that's not really all it is.
It's a lot more than
I
that.
love, and the first time I ever found out about it, it comes from the military, which a lot of good things are adapted. Bluff, are you familiar with bluff? Bottom line up front. And a lot of times you'll see, I'll be given some words or some text to reorganize, and I'll just literally just say, bluff, which stands for bottom line up front. If you're getting, I imagine, if you're getting shot at, you're not going to describe the weather or, how much gas you have in the tank. You're going to say, under fire, send help.
Yes.
Bottom line up front. And a lot of times we put the bottom line at the bottom, which is ironically not where it should be.
And I think that often that doesn't convey great things. When you're the speaker, when you're the communicator, your ability to be concise but effective says a lot of things about the way your brain works. It says a lot about your competence. It says a lot about the way in which you're perceiving and managing that situation. And that is exactly what we're trying to get at, or what I'm trying to get at in our session today.
I had a professor who would let us, who would give us a task, explain this, how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, something simple, how to tie a shoe. And then he would give us an allotment of words. And then he would say, you can use more, but you owe me $1 per word. Oh, suddenly we get very, very succinct and clear, and we think about how we're going to structure things. And it's amazing that all of a sudden it happens when you give that sort of external, when you put them in a box, suddenly you can think outside the box. But there needs to be a box. You've emphasized that assertiveness isn't arrogance. I'm going to say that again. Assertiveness isn't arrogance. What separates confident communication from coming across as dominant or dismissive? What's the difference?
I'm going to give you the pearl right here. Assertive people control themselves. Aggressive people try to control others.
I've never heard that before.
When you are an assertive person, you are managing yourself. You're managing how you interpret things. You're managing your emotions, your words, your actions, your presence. You are letting everybody else do whatever they need to do, and you are making decisions about you and what you will do and will not do. That is an assertive person. Every human being likes an assertive person because they're predictable, they're easy to work with, they're cooperative, and they don't push in on other people's boundaries. Aggressive people, people who like to be dominant, they're the opposite. They try to control other people's behavior through their words and actions. No one likes an aggressive person. Even other aggressive people don't, right? And that's the big difference. The theme is, are you managing yourself or are you trying to control someone else?
That's a big difference, and it's easy to. Well, I should say it's simpler to ask yourselves those questions in the situation. Am I assertive or aggressive?
Yep.
Am I trying to manage myself, or am I trying to get someone else to do something?
Yep. And we will talk in the session today about verbal constructions and approaches you can take to make sure that you are assertive but not aggressive. Some people will even say, I tried that assertiveness stuff, but people don't like it when I'm assertive, or people don't like it when someone like me is assertive. But I will tell you, in those cases, those folks are behaving aggressively 9 times out of 10.
If you look back at it.
But they don't have the skills to be able to notice the difference. They don't mean to. It's just the way it is. But if we can teach them up front, that can make all the difference.
It's huge. I mean, how many times have you gotten in a situation at work, home, doesn't matter, and you trace it back to a miscommunication? Well, I said this.
Yes.
Well, I didn't hear that. Or I said this. Well, you didn't actually say this because you said this. Well, I meant that. Well, that's not what you said, so that's not what I heard or did. And it's, like you said, 70% of communication nonverbal. Verbal, nonverbal, and then paraverbal was this thing I didn't understand. But it's all the things that aren't there. It's how you say things, body language,
tone,
it's facial expression, tone, timing.
The pauses, the uncertainty in the language, I guess, I don't know. And when we talk and kind of do a long, circuitous route to get to our point, we miss the bluff, right?
Right.
Those are some of the paraverbals that we're trying to deliberately reduce through skill training.
And that's, as you said, a skill. The first time I went on the radio, I was not great. It was awful. How did I get better was I liked it so much that I was willing to look and sit in the awfulness and go, okay, I think I did 30 things wrong. But let's pick one to do not as bad. And let's do that over and over again over a period of years, and now you're a better communicator. But a lot of times we put people in situations and we just say, well, you know the material, so go teach it.
Yes. Oh, boy.
I mean, when you say that, though, it's I think it's a little more... well, of course you don't know. You're not going to be good at teaching. We haven't taught you how to teach.
Thank you.
But teaching how to communicate doesn't come up. There's whole residency programs in faculty.
We assume that, right? So we understand, we have to provide a clinical training pathway. We have to give people clinical skills by deliberately teaching them. We understand that if we're going to get more people to learn more complicated ways of reasoning and behaving, we need a structured way to teach them. But somehow, when it comes to communication, or when it comes to leadership, we just assume that some people have it and some people don't.
Right.
And if somebody has gone through the right little jobs or whatever, they magically have those skills. And I think we all know that ain't so.
That's not it. No, you're better at it because you've done it. You have reps.
Yeah, and you're reflective.
And
you've been taught skills.
Refined.
You've reflected, just as we do in our clinics, just as we do with clinical practice.
Yeah.
When it's reflective practice and it's focused on skills, that improvement can be very rapid over a very short time.
Yeah, there are a lot of, I mean, I'm not in education, but there are a lot of paradigms and things that if you adopt it, all of a sudden things get real clear. Yeah. Same in communication. Bottom line up front. There are a lot of different, in advertising, there will be a lot of formats or paradigms where if you say, identify the problem, put the pain point, then the solution, the outcome.
There's a framework.
And when you do that, all of a sudden, I could say in 10 words what it took me 200 to not say.
Yep. And you could be more effective in less time.
Yes.
And I'm teaching people to do the same thing in communication today.
So what is the outcome there? How does mastering communication skills how does it actually change patient outcomes or team performance? Let's put it back into patient care or clinic or team dynamics.
That's the center of it all. We talked before that a big part of what we do is influencing human behavior, both other people's and ours. And the only way that people will see you as a credible person that they should listen to is if you have a relationship with them. Now, ideally, that's some sort of interpersonal experience, whether it's virtual or face-to-face. But it can also be a one-sided relationship where you see someone in the world, and I think we've all done this. Have you seen someone in the world whose presence and way of being, and you say, you know what? I like that. I think that works I'm going to start acting more like that. And that is where change happens, both for other people and yourself.
Yeah.
There has to be a relationship.
I've heard it described as if you don't know the person, in real life, IRL.
Yeah.
They call it an asymmetrical relationship, and it happened a lot in my former line of work when a fan would meet a singer of a band or somebody in a band, and they felt like I know you. I know how you would, the things that you'd like and dislike because I've consumed so much of your music, your art, your poetry, or watched interviews. And you've seen that. You're like, well, I know you. And then you meet the person, you're like, oh, I don't actually know you, but I've had this asymmetrical relationship, as they call it.
But I mean, I think that gets at what I'm talking about how presence helps convey to people who you are and what you stand for.
Correct. Right? And it can be positive.
Yes.
Or negative.
Right. Or it can be complete or incomplete based on your relationship.
Okay, what does that mean?
So in your example, somebody's coming and meeting their idol and finding out that there's a lot about that person
that
they don't know
saw.
Because they didn't have a chance to experience it. Right?
All you saw was on stage me.
Exactly. Or interview you or something like that.
When I knew I was on.
Yes,
and
exactly.
not the other 99% of that person's.
100%. Not talking to the parking attendant. Not talking to the waitress at the restaurant. Right.
Right.
Big difference.
When tensions rise in a patient encounter, staff meeting, tough conversation, what's your go-to method for staying composed and assertive? It's easy to fly off the handle. It's easy to just, drop a couple of F-bombs and walk out, or just be dismissive and crush your arms. What's your go-to method for sort of staying in the moment?
Yeah, I think two things here. First, don't match the energy.
Okay.
Remain calm, right? One of the things that distinguishes assertive people is that they are not emotionally reactive to other people's unproductive negative emotions. Anger, criticism, and that kind of stuff. So that's the first one. Don't match somebody's energy. And the second one is be a good listener. Most of all the tension or conflict conversations that I've seen, almost all of them could be de-escalated by just being a good listener. And we know how to do this in the clinic room, but we lose it when we talk to colleagues too often. Too often we lose it when we talk to customers, colleagues, friends, family. Being a good listener means you let them say everything they have to say, and then you summarize for them what they told you in your words, and you wait for them to say yes or that's right. Only then do you fully understand them. You convey to them that you understand through that behavior, and you give yourself a chance to see if what they have to say should change you. And very often, especially in conflict, we don't do that. Someone says, my perspective. The other person says, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective. What I'm challenging people to do is when the my perspective comes in, you say, so I think your perspective is this, is that right?
Right.
You do that a couple times, and you'll be surprised how quickly the tensions drop.
Well, they felt heard.
Yes.
Even if you disagree,
yes,
we understand each other.
Yes.
And I've said before, the purpose of, the goal of communication is not to have communicated.
Yes.
Because I could just yell right now to this room, and am I done?
Action complete.
The goal is to achieve understanding.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean you have to agree with me or like it, but at least you understand what I'm saying. Like, okay, I understand what you're saying. I believe this way. You must have read Chris Vaught. Did you read Never Split the Difference?
Yeah. Fantastic.
I read books multiple times, very rarely.
Yes.
Usually I read a book and I'm like, I'm good.
That one is worth it.
That one I would say is worth it.
That was a multiple read for sure.
I've got, Post-it notes and things like that. Go back. You're mentioning sort of techniques that he's got, labeling, mirroring. Those are very, very simple techniques that be terribly powerful.
Our healthcare people use these skills with patients all the time. They call them motivational interviewing.
Right, and they don't know it.
Right, but again, this is getting at what we're trying to say here, is that oftentimes we are not able to translate skills we have in one domain to another. We're not recognizing the similarities in these domains, and we're not pivoting to use the same skill set. What I'm trying to do today is to build a bridge between those two domains and help people realize they already have the skills they need to be effective. They just have to conceive them right and have the right skills.
Sometimes it's just putting a word to it.
That's it.
I was talking with
giving them a framework.
Talking to someone earlier about trauma-informed care, and she said she was talking about how there's research that says people aren't apt to talk about trauma they've experienced. Well, first of all, in the first 5 minutes that they've met someone, like it's a cold
There's no
room.
relationship. Why would you?
And if movement is involved, they're more apt to open up, like quite literally. And they said, but what is working with a psychologist often look like? Sitting down in a chair, laying on a couch. Yeah. What does an initial evaluation look like? Sitting down for the first 10 to 15
movement,
minutes.
no touch.
Right. So
we are lucky to have both.
So we'll say, well, what could you do? Well, why don't we let's do what they did on West Wing. Walk and talk. We're going to walk and talk.
Yes.
Very simple, but very, very powerful.
Yeah.
You've mentored hundreds of clinicians. Yeah. What's the one communication habit you see that holds most young professionals back, and how can they fix it?
People are not going to feel heard until they hear their ideas coming out of your mouth. So telling people you understand does not work.
Right.
It doesn't work. I try never to do it. I don't tell people I get it. I know it doesn't work.
So what do you do?
They're not going to feel heard until they hear their ideas coming out of my mouth. When I summarize for them what I think they're telling me and give them an opportunity to correct or validate what I've said, then they feel heard. It's not enough to be heard. People have to feel heard.
Yeah.
And we could get that from many different frameworks. You mentioned Chris Voss's, but a lot of our folks are into patient interviewing skills like motivational interviewing. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And it's an example of pivoting those same skills and applying it in a different situation.
Voss would say not to corner them. So he would say in that situation, it sounds as if
Seems like.
This way, if it isn't that, it gives them a way around you. You're not trying to say, so what you said was this.
Right.
And now they might feel like, well, you just trying to trap me. So it feels like
you're straw manning their argument,
right?
Which I'll teach people how to manage that deflection in the course.
Well, what's
today,
that?
Right?
Give me that real quick.
Straw man is when someone it's a devaluing technique for the argument, where you hear something from someone and you recast it in a more extreme version that is easier to
light on fire.
To attack or to light on fire. Is the straw man example, right? So that is a deliberate devaluing technique,
right?
Right. But when you give a seems like or a sounds like, or you have that part of it, I mean, the motivational interviewing people will call that reflections, right? It's all
Similar.
these frameworks are overlapped just as they are in clinical practice and just as they are in academics, right?
And these, even when you learn them, and then you on Monday morning, you're like, you run into clinic to use them.
I'm ready.
They're still skills, and you can get better. It's going to feel awkward the first 10 times, and then it's going to feel less awkward, but you have to keep doing it.
Yes.
Because these things are powerful.
Yes, but you have a framework, and you have skills, and
you're not winging it.
No, I'm going to tell people when they say this, you say that. It is going to be like that. It's going to be a blueprint. And once they're good at that version, they can start extrapolating and playing the jazz from there.
And then they don't need to look at the notes
Doesn't
anymore.
that sound like clinical practice? Doesn't that sound like teaching and education?
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Same.
If every PT listening could change just one thing about how they communicate starting Monday, what would it be?
People do not change within a conversation. They change between conversations. And that's true of other people, but it's also true of us. So by listening carefully, you give that person an opportunity to be heard. And by communicating respectfully, you give them an opportunity between when you see them today and when you see them next to test drive your ideas.
Digest.
And see if they fit them. And that's when you get people to change. No, every time I've been in a tense conversation with someone, 0.0% of the time have they said, you know what, you're right. I was wrong. You got it. I get it. That's it.
Yeah.
I've come to realize now that really, Jimmy, you were right about everything and I was wrong. But nobody does that.
Right.
One of the things I've found is that people will change and move toward me often between conversations, but also that I will change if I'm a good listener to them. They will often have things that I didn't think about or offer a perspective that I could not have considered had I not listened to them completely.
Yeah.
And that's where people change. They don't change inside a conversation.
Yeah.
They change between conversations.
Yeah, you're not going to win. You're not going to win there. And we push harder and harder, but guess what? They push harder and harder, and nothing gets changed.
Yeah, I'm suggesting that we really need to help people be as good a listener in their personal and professional life as they are with their patients.
Yeah,
I think if we just do that, man, imagine where we could go.
Love that. All right, everything we do, every episode we have the last thing we do is a parting shot.
Okay.
Mic drop moment. I figure you have several mic drop moments so far. But what would you want to leave as your parting shot today?
I would say that all of these things are interrelated. As you move through and develop as a person and as a clinician, your personality and effectiveness is being developed across multiple domains. What I'm offering people a chance here to do is to see that these things are all connected with each other. Your ability to be a good clinician influences your ability to be a good listener. It influences your ability to be a good spouse or child or sibling or friend or anything else like that. All of these things are related, and you have the skills you need to be successful now. You just need some strategies.
Yeah.
Come see me and I'll show you.
Jason Silvernail. Appreciate the time, man.
Thanks,
Thank
Jim.
you.
Appreciate you.
Thanks for listening to Hands On, Hands Off, the official podcast of AOMT. Subscribe now so you never miss an episode, and connect with us at aomt.org or at AOMT on social. Opinions are those of the guests and not official AOMT policy. See you next time.